Barbados, we must never allow present circumstances to define our future. In the past, we were known for our strong and decisive leadership, our social, economic and political stability, and our well-educated and productive workforce. Who we become will depend on the vision and the focus we have. These series of videos will challenge us as a people to dig deep within and find our purpose. We are Refocusing Barbados.
Hello, once again, this is Refocusing Barbados and I am Matt. I want to focus my attention on two issues today. Number one, I want to look back at the suggestion I made to Ms. Motley, which is to give Mr. Arthur a call. And two, I want to get another look at the impasse between the teachers and the Minister of Education. But I want to start off with that suggestion I made a few weeks ago, where I asked Ms. Motley to give Mr. Arthur a call. Since then, the responses have been varied, and let me say that. And the supporters in the Arthur camp are saying, not a bad idea, but I can't see how it will work. But contrast that to the responses in the Motley camp. The responses are like this: never, it can't happen. She ain't calling he, she don't need he, and besides, it all. They are contrasting responses. The thing is that I am looking at here, when I think of these responses, is one thing coming through, especially when the responses looked at the result of the poll and said, she has 48% favorability. Why should she call him? She doesn't need him. And I started to think about what polls can do to people, to their minds. And what I'm seeing coming out here is that the polls have given the Motley camp a sense of inevitability. But before I go any further, let me say this. I am aware of this because there's a dynamic at play in all political parties, where hangers-on supporters of the leaders and the parties decide that they can speak and they have the authority to speak on the behalf of the leaders. I am not sure if Ms. Motley is aware of some of the comments, or Mr. Arthur, if he is also aware of some of the comments. But to get back to my point, it seems as though the 48% has given the Motley camp a sense that all we have to do now is to count the votes. But I want to remind them that a day in politics is a long time. The bigger problem for the BLP is the deceptive nature of the 48% in terms of favorability. And the deception comes in that they're not able to read and to see some of the underlying currents, the undercurrents that may be pulling in a different direction, or which can turn the whole favorability factor upside down on its head. And I am thinking, look, there's a danger in all of this for the Barbados Labour Party. And this is what I want to look at, and I want the party to focus on very, 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 very seriously. Because it seems as though the party is doubling down on that, on the poll results. And are saying to themselves, we've got it all locked up. But the question I want to ask is this: what rule is there for interest groups in the next general election? That is the point I want to make. And that's the question I also want to ask. What will be the role of interest groups in the next general election? You see, most parties have an Achilles heel. The Barbados Labour Party has two. And that is worrisome for the party going into the next general election. It poses a great danger to the party. And I don't understand why the party seems so intent on disregarding all the danger signs that are out there. The people in this country are not feeling well about their government or about their economic circumstances. So it is obvious in the two-party state, where you become disillusioned with one, your mind most likely will be focused on the other as a way out of your economic problems. But I want also the Motley camp to understand this. It does not take 10,000 people to change the outcome of any election in this country. I have seen governments change by fewer than 1,000 votes. And because of the nature of our politics, and because we are so polarized, and because the two parties are so close in numbers and percentage-wise, you will always have this dynamic at play. But what do you think will happen if one of these interest groups, with over 50,000 members, decides to vote in a particular way? It may take 10% or even 5% to change the outcome of the election. So I want the Motley faction to understand that there is a danger, and the polls cannot reveal it. The polls will not see it. And if the pollster doesn't ask the correct questions, the pollster will not see it. Maybe the pollster isn't interested in looking at it, but there are people out there who are interested in this. 5,000 people is a whole lot of people and can change the outcome of any election. You spread 5,000 people over 10 constituencies or even 6 constituencies, and you will realize the havoc that can be wreaked on all the plans and dreams of the Barbados Labour Party. 5,000 people in the last election. People lost elections by 39 votes, 25 votes, 100 votes, 200 votes. If you got 5,000 votes going against you in 10 constituencies, you can call it good night. So I do not understand why the Motley people are hanging on to this 48% and saying, okay, it's just about, we're just waiting to count the votes. You've got a lot of work to do. So don't get too happy and start high-fiving yet. Because the interest groups in this country will determine the outcome of the next election. I'm saying it, I'm predicting it. And it can produce an upset. And it can hurt a lot of people in this country. What I'm saying, I'm going to warn the Barbados Labour Party. I'm going to warn you. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And that is biblical. Another thing. This impasse between the teachers and the Minister of Education, I wouldn't even say the Ministry of Education. I would say the Minister of Education. You see, what the minister did, I would say, was scandalous. It was distasteful. It was inartful. The minister turned the wrath of the parents on the teachers, those very people that he needs to work with. And it annoys me that we have a minister of education who was a former teacher, who was a teacher. And every time he opens his mouth, he's bashing teachers, bashing teachers. If you cuss your soldiers, how do you expect to fight the war? You cannot separate yourself from the teaching, from the teachers. You cannot say it is me against them or me and them. And what I find really to be lousy is what the minister did. He wanted to sidestep the issue, right? And what he spoke about is nonsensical to me. It doesn't make sense when you look at the entire argument. But the teachers have a point. The CXC exam is an external exam. Their contract doesn't cover CXC. It covers exams and preparing students. But the exam is an external exam. And what he has talked about has come about because of legislation passed before, which has given teachers a kind of a hands-off policy in terms of students. And this has emboldened students to act and behave in appropriate ways. And if the teachers were to flood the ministry with complaints of students who have behaved inappropriately to them, I wonder what the minister would say. It is always he having something negative to say about the teachers. He has lost the respect of the teachers. He is lacking in diplomacy and he's lacking in fairness. He seems as though he is incapable of negotiating. And therefore, he comes up against a problem and seems to use threats. I do not understand what we are dealing with in our country. Honestly, I've never seen an administration like this in all my life. And this reminds me of the Marie case, when diplomacy could have worked. All she had to do was take up the phone, call her counterpart in Jamaica. The same thing is happening here now. Instead of Mr. Jones dealing with the problem directly and sitting down and talking with the teachers union, he decides he can turn the wrath of the parents against the children by bringing up a non-issue. A red herring across the trail. How much more lousy can you get, Mr. Jones? That's all. This has been Refocusing Barbados. And I'm Mark. Thank you.